When I think of cultural background and how it impacted my life, I kind of tend to think about family traditions. One of the biggest family traditions I can think of that growing up was Christmas Eve. Growing up in an Italian household, it was always a major event. You go to your grandparents' house, all your relatives are there, family, friends, you name it, they're all there. As a little kid, you walk in and it looked like a Vegas buffet. You have tables and tables of food. And it's always the same food every Christmas Eve. Cold cuts, fish, seafood, and homemade bread from Italian bread to pepperoni bread and everything in between. The biggest thing I can remember growing up though, and it still sticks to me to this day, is after everybody ate, the family gave all the kids free rein of the desserts. And we're not talking just store-bought cookies. We're talking desserts that seemed like everybody spent weeks making, from homemade cookies and pies to fudge. And as you're eating and eating and eating and trying to eat as much as you can before anybody else gets in that last piece, your uncle is always like, "Oh, I forgot him to the store. I'll be right back." And he'd go out to the garage, and 5 minutes later, 4 or 5 other adults had to follow him out there. Never understood why, but then all of a sudden, they'd all walk in smiling, and what do you know? There's a knock on the door, and here comes Santa walking through the front door. Your face lights up. You couldn't wait to see what was going on. He sits down in a chair in the living room, front and center, right by the tree, and one by one calls each kid up to give him a present. And as last one's given out, he walks right out the door. 2 minutes later, guess who walks in the front door? Not with any bags. Here's your uncle, asking what happened, what did he miss? And it's funny because you don't think about it as a kid, and it just was one of those things. But growing up now, having kids of my own, and you try to always tell them about that growing up and how it was when you grew up. And even though you're from a, you know, smaller family now, you don't have as many relatives around you, you still try to do little things that they would remember and they want to pass on, whether it's going to the same restaurant maybe every holiday, or opening one special gift and watching that one special movie every single holiday. And you make it your own tradition. And you hope that your kids remember that and they're going to instill that to their kids when they grow up. And it just passes it on and makes your own. And so, like I said, growing up, that I think is my one cultural background that I can think of is family traditions.